Hello and welcome to the SoundLab podcast interviews. Unedited. On today's show, interviews with Courting, Bloodywood, Hamish Hawk, Sarah Reeves, and we throw back to Slam Dunk Festival 2016, where we chatted to Newfound Glory. But let's crack on, shall we, and play you our first interview from Courting, who have a brand new record out right now. Courting, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. So after this interview, we're going to play a new single of yours called Namsi. Tell us a bit about the
Yeah.
single.
Namsi was really our attempt at kind of making a single that was a little bit more American. Like we wanted it to feel really anthemic and powerful. It was quite inspired by like the Replacements and maybe in places some of those early like 2000s indie British records like the Libertines early stuff and whatever. Now I think we don't often pull from the kind of idea of like big stupid rock, and that is definitely where we want to go with this because I think when it's done right and it's kind of got like a slightly melancholy sentiment, you can make something really, really interesting, really like really impactful. And yeah, that's just what we set out to do.
Yeah, good, good. And that's off your brand new record, which is out now. Lust for Life, or How to Thread the Needle and Come Out the Other Side to Tell the Story. Tell
That's
us a
the
bit
one.
about the record.
Um, it was kind of created with the idea of making something really succinct because when we did the last album, we spent a lot of time on the narrative and the concept. I think with this one, we got so enveloped in that, so deep into kind of thinking, oh, how do these songs fit with the fictional plot line of which we're developing for an imaginary theatrical performance? That when we started writing this album, we were like, let's write some songs. Let's write some songs. The concept only exists really as a writing exercise rather than a listening exercise. Just the idea of having a concise record that is essentially symmetrical horizontally through the center is what we wanted to do. But that's not really to the benefit of any overlooking narrative when someone listens to the record, but more just to provide us with an interesting challenge when we're making a record. Because at least for us, we can never just put something together where we're like, here's 8 singles, let's call it a day. There always has to be something, whether we are trying to invent a fictional play or what. So having a kind of brief, having an idea that would push the songwriting in interesting directions was crucial, really. So yeah, the record is kind of like split in half, and everything is meant to represent this idea of duality or symmetry. Two titles. The whole campaign is just black and white. Two people on the cover, two wheels on a motorbike. Um, some of the songs are more obviously directly split into two parts, whereas others are a bit more ambiguous with the features that revolve around the symmetry throughout the album.
Nice. And the sound that you made with this record, was it the sound you wanted, or is it just how it turned out in the studio?
Oh yeah, of course. We're always very obsessive about how we want things to sound. Like I like the idea of being a rock band, but we really labor over all of these creative choices. Nothing is really just improvised or thrown at the wall. Every lyric, every note is very deliberately on the album.
Yeah, good. And I'm sure you wrote more than what made it onto this record.
Surprisingly, again, with our process, we don't do B-sides. How we write and how we've always wrote is we a song doesn't pass the early stages if we don't think it's good enough. So, there might be 100 riffs, but there only ever ends up the amount of songs that end up on the album. And it'll tend to be that the best parts from those other songs that we don't end up using become kind of cannibalized into what makes the record in the end. But it tends to be, say we've wrote a song and it doesn't feel quite right. We will just change it and adapt it until it works. We'll add new parts, we'll change things, we'll change the style. It doesn't matter because I think sometimes when a song is there and you just have to make it right. And that's kind of what we do. I don't really enjoy the creative process of just writing 100 things that you don't 100% believe in and then just asking someone else to pick their favorites. Like this is again, everything is very on purpose.
Yeah, nice. Is that the reason then why you're able to release so much music and however many albums you release,
Um,
kind of mostly one each year at the moment, I think.
I'd say it kind of comes the other way around. I think the reason that we were able to do two albums in short succession is because we decided that this album would be short. If we wanted to make an album that was 40 minutes long, I don't think people would have got it until next year. So it's not a case of that we felt particularly rushed. I think it's just knowing about like overstaying your welcome really, and knowing that people have a desire for new music quickly. So I think we set ourselves a little bit of a challenge of like, we obviously want to follow up the previous record quickly. We want to release more albums. We want to tour more.
Mm.
But there is obviously a slight restriction in the fact that if I want to make an incredibly good 50-minute album, that is not going to take me a year. That's going to take 2 or 3 years. I think that's evident in the fact that there are so many bands who churn out still 40 and 50-minute albums. And on most of them, there's a good 3 or 4 songs of like trash and filler. And
Fella, yeah.
this idea of just throwing it's something I've seen discussed quite a lot in the last week. Like people saying, oh, this album's a little bit too short to be an album. I don't really care. I really love a short album in every genre, from like classic rock to like more like modern rap mixtapes. I appreciate the fact that it's like quite easy to just keep listening
Mm.
rather than getting bored halfway through and then flip into something else.
Mm.
So, yeah, I guess the fact that we get one out every year comes more down to the fact that we set ourselves a challenge of writing something that was um, all killer, no filler, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way every band should do it. But they don't. So I'm glad you do it that way.
Thank you.
And not a question that I don't tend to ask, but I'm going to ask you because the title of the album is so standout because it's so long. Where did it come from?
Um, it sounds ridiculous to say, but every title for every album we've ever wrote just seems to materialize. Like it's never kind of like a deep writing exercise. I don't know why I called it this. The first part is kind of obvious to me. That's like I guess a revisit of like rock canon and like musical cliches, considering it's a really overused title. And then
Mm.
I guess the gimmick of our title, the joke of sorts, is that we play away from expectations by then adding on a really wordy, pretentious second half to what is already a really like historically steep title, I guess. And I guess that's exactly the mission statement of the album. It is performing to a sense of old fashioned rock music, but approaching it with a different viewpoint, with something to like throw that off balance, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I'd like to talk about the writing side of things as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
See, again, I think the art of writing is it's really just something that has to be natural and can't be overly processed or overly thought about. For us, every time I get a lyric that I like the sound of or a word or a phrase, maybe it's from like a tabloid article, maybe it's from a TV advert, maybe it's from a movie, maybe it's something from another song or a live performance, whatever. I have just like a master list of these phrases and ideas. And then when it comes, and I tend to start making one the second after I finish an album. And then after, in the following months, whatever, I'll start combing through it and things will kind of just feel correctly together. I guess it's always just how we've done things. It's similar to like that old fashioned like Bowie approach of like just sticking things together because in your head they feel like they go together and it makes sense rather than sitting down and go, I'm going to write a love song today or whatever. Um it just doesn't happen like that for us. And then we tend to have a brief of what we want a song to do rather than specifically what we want it to sound like. So we think kind of like, oh, this song we want it to feel like this, we want it to do this, and we go, okay, how can we get there? And then we just push it until it kind of hits that point of feeling the way we want it to. Like for example, with that song Namsi, we really did want to hit a kind of like melancholy nostalgia and something that was still hard and not like overly pretty, but had a certain I don't know, like a romantic nostalgic feeling to it.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And you touched on starting writing as soon as you finished the last one. So have you already put thoughts towards record four yet?
Um, we're taking a little break.
Mhm.
Um, we've been very busy for the last few years, so I'm personally quite excited to let it simmer down right now. I think what we're proud of is we've got 3 albums now, 3 albums since 2022. Um, I want people to actually digest them. I don't want to kind of like be a band who just keeps churning out new stuff. I think we've made some interesting music, and now I want to let it rest for a little bit, let people kind of accept our discography where it's at.
Yeah, and speaking of having a rest, you haven't got too long to have a rest because you're out on tour from 31st of March.
Exactly. Yeah, we played our first show of the tour the other day in Leeds, and we're back doing the rest of the UK at the end of March and through April. We've got some festivals over the summer. Got some other interesting things coming up too, so it is good. It's not really a break, but it's definitely a little break just from writing.
Yeah, nice. I mean, your confirmed date so far takes you to kind of just halfway through April. Do you plan on having a busy summer and the rest of the year then?
No, we do. There's a lot still to come. We are going to keep on this album.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Courting. Now, we are all over social media, so come and find us at The Sound Lab, yes, on all the socials. And you can also check out the website at thesoundlabuk.co.uk. Now, let's move on and play you our next interview from Bloodywood. We had a chat with them to talk about their new record, which is out now. So, Bloodywood, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We've been playing a new single of yours called Tadka. Tell us a bit about the single.
So, Tadka is basically a love letter to Indian cuisine itself and a cooking of a mother. This is one thing that we miss no matter where we are when we are, touring and all. So, this is one thing that we miss. With this song is for anyone who is, either traveling or whatever and just misses their, like, be it their mother's cooking or their caregiver's cooking. Sometimes that nostalgic meal that you need just to uplift your spirits. It's a homage for all of them, so they can use the song. Not it's about Indian cuisine because it's from our perspective, but it can be, used by anyone.
Mm. Yeah, no, most
Yeah.
definitely. And that's off for your new record, New Delhi. When it comes
Yes,
out,
sir.
what can we expect to hear on the record?
It's coming out on 21st March, and you can expect a whole bunch of new stuff, a whole bunch of experimentation, the same spirit, but with a lot of power.
Nice, nice. And the sounds that you've made with this record, was it the sound you wanted, or is it just how it turned out?
So we don't, let any formulas come in the way of when we make music. We let our emotions and the music itself dictate how it's going to go. And that's exactly what we did. We just let the music take over. It kept building on its own, basically. Karan would start writing the instrumentals and he will go ahead with his feels. And either we'll have a topic about that from the beginning, or we just listen to the instrumentals and just go ahead with like, what do you think this music is speaking? And that's how we took over. So there was no sort of no formulas, but basically our emotions taking over the entire thing.
Nice, nice. And I'm sure
Yeah.
you wrote more than what made it onto this record. What happens to
Yeah.
those now?
Either they will get used on the next album, I'd say, but basically, I mean, there are a whole bunch of songs that we were like, hey, maybe we should work more on it rather than just like it would be a disservice if we, just go ahead and make it into a song because right now we think it's not ready enough. So probably we'll be going forward in the next album.
Nice, nice. And you've been releasing
Yeah.
music now, I think, since 2016, 2017 time. How
Yep.
have you evolved? How has the music evolved over those years?
Back then we were, just creating some parodies or metal renditions of songs because we just wanted a set of eyeballs on us so that when we release original music, people are there to hear it. From there, a lot has changed in terms of how we now produce records. A lot of changes, like Karan has gotten his game up very high at this point with the level of production he has. Same goes for me and Rahul in terms of just lyric writing. We've become more efficient in recording our vocals. Earlier, it used to be just like Karan will sit there. Now we just do it on our own in the studio. I used to take like 12 to 13 to literally 24 hours just because I was never happy with the take. And these guys would be like, hey, it's sounding the same. You're just hurting yourself now. Uh, Now I've started to let these things go and just record faster. So these things have changed a lot. But yeah, apart from
Yeah.
that, it's the same old fun in the studio like it has always been.
Yeah, good. Do you feel like you've now found your sound and what Bloodywood is, or is there more things you want to try to see if they work for you?
I mean, experimenting is a thing that will keep going on no matter what. We will keep evolving with time, you know. But right now, we're very happy with the sound we have. We have actually started calling it metal tikka masala just because we feel it's very spicy too. It's not just your plain old metal, it has that, you know, a little bit of tadka that I can say it myself in our sound. So we're very happy with it, but it's a constantly like you evolve with time, and that's what's gonna happen with us as well, because that's how it is basically.
Yeah, good,
Yeah,
good. And I like to talk about the writing side of things as
yeah,
well. So for
yes.
you, how do the tracks normally start off?
So it either we'll have like a hook with us already in verse, or and which is actually the case 90% of the times is like Karan will jot down a whole bunch of ideas and then he'll start working on it. Either he'll send us the full track with the first chorus at least, or he'll send us a riff and we'll start, writing on it, and he'll keep so the song gets reviewed throughout where like, oh, I've completed this intro, or I've completed till first verse, I'm still going for the chorus. What do you guys feel? Do you think we should take it forward? Blah blah blah. So our writing process is generally that, where we'll get the instrumental or certain inspiration in terms of like a riff, a verse, whatever it is, and then we just like build on it, and we basically start discussing the topics again and have our own small like a group discussion of sorts, and then we start writing lines according to it and just like try to fit everything and see how it's working. If it works, then we move forward. Otherwise, we just keep reworking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And tell us a bit about the lyrics as well. How easy do you find it to create the lyrics to the music that's already there?
I mean, honestly, once we have, the set of either be a message or we feel the emotion, generally, uh, lyrics just like trickle down. You just don't have to think too much. But sometimes, and this comes down to me personally, because when I write in Hindi, it's a little more complex. When I say complex, the usage of words and all is a little heavy. Even like the Hindi speakers wouldn't understand a few of those. So these guys have to just like sit me down and be like, hey, speak, like write easy, write something that everyone can understand. That is where the problem for me begins, because I've grown up reading a lot of Hindi poetry, and I have a keen interest in Urdu because I just feel it's a very elegant language. Same goes for Punjabi. I do not understand a whole bunch of it, but I mean, sorry, I do understand a whole bunch of it, but it's hard for me to write because I am, again, I've not learned the language. I've just heard it, and that's how I've grasped on it. So basically, for me, first I write what I want to say, then I dumb it down for myself so that it's not very heavy, and then I see the usage of words in terms of which one bounces more, which one will sound better, but the meaning remains the same. So the initial idea is generally what carry forward, and yeah, sometimes it's just like you don't even have to think the songs, the lines are just coming to you one by one, and sometimes you just gotta think and be like, hey, this kind of sounds rude. Basically. So that is how it works for me, at least in terms of writing the lyrics. With Raul is basically he'll do the same thing, but with a whole bunches of paragraphs, and we just what happens with me happens with him as well. In terms of just like, hey, we'll review it all together. Sometimes there are lines where we'd be like, hey, we can change it, and this can be a better one. But apart from that, it's just a smooth process.
Yeah, nice, nice. And you get to play you've been playing these tracks live for the last
Yep,
couple of months. You've been doing a nice big tour. How have the show's been so far?
amazing. I mean, either they get sold out or we just like end up not selling like the last 30 tickets or 25 tickets. And that is those are the ones that hurt a little bit because they're like, hey, almost there. There's like 99.9% of them sold, but the people make it up for these little things with so much energy. Like energy across the board right now on the store has been just very, very heavy in terms of just crowds participating with you. Each and every one of your supporters is singing those lines. So it's a very, very, very great experience, I'd say.
Hmm. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And you've got a few dates still to come. You've got some finishing off Europe
Yep.
and here in the UK. You've got a couple in Japan as well. What else have you
Yep.
got planned for this year?
I mean, the plans have not been announced, so I don't have the liberty to speak of them right now, but they're going to be announced very, very soon.
Is that
Like
more
it's
touring?
almost there. Hmm?
Is
More
that
touring, and then obviously you're getting the album out, everything. So yeah,
Yeah, nice. Is there anywhere you've not been to yet that you want to go and play?
We haven't been to Australia, Canada, New Zealand. These are the places that we have not gone yet, and we would love to be there. Because again, so many messages, so many comments just calling us to Australia, Canada, and also we're working something out for those as well. We're trying to figure out how what would be the best ways. Because again, you come from India, you gotta get a whole bunch of visas, which is fine. You just have to plan it very carefully. Because it has happened to us once that our UK visa, like it came in the evening right before we had to leave. Like we had to go ahead, run, get our passports, early morning flight for Europe. So we try to avoid those situations. And again, that was not our fault, by the way. That was the UK High Commission at that point. That was just like, hey, we'll give you your passport back when we feel like.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
but
like
it's all
the UK
fine.
government.
It makes sense. Yeah. No, but again, like I said, it makes sense. We just are trying to maneuver all of these things properly because there are certain time limits when you got to apply for these visas and things not done at that point of time, or we our passports are already with some other embassy at that point. So these things, again, like I said, are very um, tricky, and we're still trying to figure out how do we maneuver all of that.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Bloodywood to talk about their brand new record, which is out right now. Now, if you're listening to this on Spotify, well, we're pleased to tell you that we also have a playlist here on Spotify as well. It's called Fresh. Now, on this Fresh playlist, you will get 150 brand new up-and-coming unsigned artists that we know that you will never have heard of before, but we think that you will love. So if you want to try and find your next favourite new artist, then you can head to the website, thesoundlabuk.co.uk, and click on our Fresh playlist. That is time for our third interview of the show. It comes from Hamish Hawk. He's been slowly releasing music over the last few years, and we had a little chat with him to talk about it all. So, Hamish Hawk, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, as I say, thank you for having me.
Pleasure is all mine. So, we've been playing a new single of yours called Disingenuous. Tell us a bit about the single.
Yeah, well, so, A Firmer Hand generally, the album, I would say, is it's a sort of warts and all album. And there's various sort of discontents that get aired throughout the album, and I would say Disingenuous is no exception. It's one of those songs that inevitably, I feel sort of regretful saying this, but inevitably it's a song about writing songs and a song about the music industry and the various, as I say, discontents that might arise from working within it. But to that end, it's a very fun song to sing live. I really enjoy performing it. I sort of get to vent a fair bit, and it's quite I would say where a lot of the album is quite stark and maybe not particularly florid. It's quite direct. Disingenuous, I feel, gives me a bit of a sing-song moment that I really appreciate.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure. And the sound that you made with this record, was it the sound you wanted to make, or is it simply just how it turned out?
It's a good question. I would say that, really what came first for me were, sets of lyrics for maybe about 2 or 3 songs. And it quickly became apparent that it was going to be impossible to make an album that sounded musically similar to my previous 2 records, say, which were sort of I would say, purist indie pop, indie rock, and, perhaps even with sort of chamber pop moments in them. It was going to be impossible because of the lyrical content. It was going to be impossible to make an album that sounded like that and pair it with the lyrics I had written or that were rearing their head for this record. So it was, when the band and I approached it, it was going to be altogether, it sounds cliche, but altogether darker and more intense. And so I would say we were definitely successful at that. And yeah, it was certainly intentional. Yeah.
Good. And I'm sure you wrote more than what made it onto this record. What happens to those now? Are you going to consider them again for the future, or is it a case of binning them off and starting again next time?
Yeah, well, that's a good question as well. You'd be surprised. I think there are a lot of bands out there who will maybe write screeds and screeds of songs. We're talking 20, 30 songs for each album and then just shaving it right down. I suppose I've always been a sort of quality over quantity kind of writer. So you'd be surprised there aren't too many that didn't get used. I don't have sort of banks of them unused. But I would say that generally speaking, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, if a song doesn't sort of make it onto an album at that initial stage, um, there's something in me that says, that's probably it's had its chance, and that's not to say that it might not sort of appear later in another form, or I'll often sort of tear apart songs and take their lyrics and put them in something else and see how they react with a different musical backdrop. So that might well happen to some of the older songs. And it might well happen that in the future they might get released as, I don't know, sort of rarities or B-sides or demos or whatever it might be. But in terms of making them the cornerstone of another album, for me, I'd prefer to I like the feeling of recording a record, mixing a record, getting it mastered, performing it, and then it's sort of that page is turned and you sort of start afresh. That feeling for me of the clean slate is really important in getting into the right frame of mind for a new album.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'd like to talk about the writing side of things as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I would say it really can be with music or with lyric. It depends. More often these days, the sort of way we work is that my guitarist and collaborator Andrew Pearson, or my drummer and collaborator Stefan Maurice, they'll send me a demo, and I'll sort of sit with it for a while, or in a sort of, if things go really well, I won't sit with it for that long, and it'll just happen, and I'll get inspired and just throw as many words at it as I can, and sort of float over the top of it and see what I can do with it lyrically. That's more often than not what happens these days. But, if when it comes to songs that I myself write, on the guitar, on the keys, it really depends. Sometimes your fingers can stumble over the keys in such a way that you find a little hidden melody somewhere that really gets you going. Or as you're walking around your life, you'll overhear something, or you'll get a fragment of a conversation, or you'll see a signpost or a magazine article or whatever it might be. And there's a phrase in there that just creates a world in my head. So it's really luck of the draw, and I have no rules. I just go along with it, really.
Yeah, and are the lyrics pretty straightforward to write if you do the music first, or is it a challenge at times?
Oh no, yeah. I would say that my lyrics are a few things, but they're probably not straightforward at any point in their lives. Um, I I'm painstaking with them. Sometimes you're right in the sense that sometimes it's natural, sometimes it feels like they flow. But even then, there'll be points as they flow where you sort of you're trying to grasp a hold of them, and they're so, they're just like sand running through your fingers. So you're just terrified that if you lose it for more than a few seconds, lose the thread, that you'll never get back to it. So it's not, yeah, they're never simple, but sometimes they sort of the sand remains in your fist for a little longer than it might usually, and that's a like a welcome thing, a welcome moment. But more often than not, it's I would like it to be like that all the time, but actually more often than not, it requires drafting and redrafting and editing and re-editing, and I sit with songs for a long time before you hear them.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you've been rather busy recently. Just before Christmas, you were out on tour with Travis. How did they go down?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, the band and I absolutely loved those dates. We went on tour with them in Europe back in sort of September, just as we released A Firmer Hand. And then we were lucky enough to be asked again to come back for their UK leg. And we loved it. They're such genuine and humble and charming and affectionate people. It was really, really great to play with them. And it was something of it really was a happy family by the end of the tour and throughout the tour. I think also that it definitely it made a lot more people aware of what we're doing than ever before. And since then, whenever it's been sort of, we recently played in Europe and on the continent, and at the merch table or at gigs generally, people saying, "Oh, we first saw you when you played with Travis." That's we hear that a lot now, and we're just so thankful to them for having us.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And you have been back out, as you mentioned, back into Europe doing some shows, and you've got some UK dates coming up as well. I bet you can't wait to be doing those.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah. This is I would say, now don't quote me on this, but I would say it's by far and away the sort of most comprehensive tour of the UK that we've done. Definitely the biggest in terms of venue capacity and attendance stuff so far. Um and we're just really excited. This is the A Firmer Hand tour, essentially. We did one um we went on tour just as it came out, but that was a sort of in-stores promotional tour, as it were, and with shorter sets. And so we're really excited to not only be able to play these Firmer Hand songs, but present them next to songs that were on Angel Numbers or on Heavy Elevator and see how they all interact. And, once you're on 3 albums, it really feels like more than the beginnings of a world is being created. And it's just so exciting for us to get the opportunity to write a set list and, as I say, see how songs hit off each other and see how sets, yeah, what shapes they can shift into. So yeah, we're thrilled. We're really excited to go into. Yeah.
I'm sure, and that's going to take you through February, but no dates booked in after that. What's your plan?
Good question. So it's looking like throughout the summer, it's going to be festivals upon festivals upon festivals. That's the hope anyway. And there are already a few on the books, although perhaps not announced. There will be, I would say, throughout, from about we're talking sort of May onwards, all throughout the summer towards the autumn. We're hoping to be just as busy as we have been these past few years, playing festivals as often as we can. So any festival bookers out there, we're free for you. So please rap our door if you can.
Nice, yeah. And later this year, are you hoping to continue the touring, or are you hoping to be back in the studio?
Well, you know what? It's one of the things that happens obviously that with this kind of touring schedule is you end up perhaps writing to a different rhythm essentially. I suppose I've grown used to sort of those periods of being able to get bored enough that your mind starts racing and your imagination starts throwing things out there. We've been so busy that we haven't. I mean, there's things. Don't worry, there's things bubbling under the surface, but with any luck, we'll have some time, perhaps somewhere in the middle of the year or even towards the end of the year, to really sit down and get to work on some new stuff. Because as I say, we've all got ideas floating around, and some are more tangible than others. But yeah, but there'll definitely be touring as well. So yeah, we're in an all guns blazing period at the moment, I would say.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Hamish Hawk. Now, we also have these interviews alongside a load of music on our radio show. Yes, a 2-hour radio show that broadcasts around the world. It contains these interviews. It contains new music from more well-known and established artists than our Fresh playlist. It also includes a live session as well. So if you want to check that out, the website is thesoundlabuk.co.uk, and you can click on our international radio show button. Yes, go and check that out after this podcast has ended. Why not? Now, we're going to play you our final new interview. It comes from Sarah Reeves, who has also been releasing new music this year. We had a little chat with her about that. So, Sarah Reeves, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Thanks so much. So, we've been playing a new single of yours called More Than Enough. For those who've not had a chance to take a listen yet, tell us a bit about the single.
Yeah, so More Than Enough, it's a song that I wrote coming out of a pretty crazy time of life. I had just a few years ago gone through a divorce, and after being married for a decade. And, for the first time in my adulthood, I was a single woman. And I remember the feeling after my divorce. It wasn't necessarily it was sad, but I think the greatest emotion that I felt was fear. It was just this fear of not being able to be this independent woman. I didn't feel like I was strong enough or smart enough. And I remember just having to like rewire my mind and my brain. And as I was doing this, I was writing these songs because songwriting is just therapy for me, honestly. And I really had to even look in the mirror sometimes and just speak positivity over myself and just say, you are stronger than you feel, you're smarter than you think, like you are truly more than capable and more than enough. And I have found that my life has just flourished, just since, post-divorce, and I'm even like remarried now, which is crazy. It's been a long journey, but even just that in between time, it's been very empowering. And so that's where this song came from. And I have found that it has also been very empowering for other people as well.
Yeah, nice. And about an hour ago, I got an update on how popular this track is getting, and 56,000 TikTok creates with 31 million views and 4 million global streams. When you hear and see these kind of stats about this track, how does that make you feel?
It's a great feeling, to know that my music is resonating with people. I go on there myself on TikTok and Instagram sometimes, and I see other people posting the song and even just like sending me messages about how much it's helped them, because that's the whole reason why I do what I do. It's
Mm,
not for me. It's to truly like influence and impact people and help them. And so just to know that it's doing that is very fulfilling.
yeah, I'm sure. And this is the start of more new music to come.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm currently working on a new album. I've been teasing a couple of new songs on my social media, so you can check that out if you want. You can just follow me at Sarah Reeves Music. But yeah, I'm always creating, always working on new music, so always new things on the horizon.
How's it sounding at the moment?
It's, I'm happy with it. It's the process. And I'm doing a lot of the work on my own. I'm producing a lot of my own album this time. So it's definitely a challenge, but
Mhm.
it's a good challenge. And I mean, the creating process is my favorite above all the other things that I do. So yeah, it's fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you've released a number of albums now over the past 10, 15 years. How have you evolved and how has the music evolved over those years?
Well, I started really young. I started right out of high school releasing music. I often tell people don't Google me because you're going to find some music out there that, it's great. It's fine for what it is. But I've definitely grown as an artist and even as an individual, as a human, we just evolve over time. And so, like, my brain wasn't even fully developed when I was 18 putting out music, So even just life experience and how I've been writing and, heartbreak and falling in love and heartbreak again. And, it's just like all these different things, failures in life, disappointments that I find myself writing about. And so, yeah, my music has definitely grown up with me in a way. And I hope that even, 2 years from now, I'll look back and be like, wow, I've gotten so much better, So as I've grown, my music is growing as well.
Nice, nice. Now I'd like to talk about the writing side of things as well. So for you, how do tracks normally start off?
It's different every time. If I'm collaborating with someone, usually there's a producer. I like the top line, which is writing the lyric and the melody, probably the most out of all three things. So I'm usually just kind of, you get in a room with somebody and you start talking about life, and then that kind of sparks an idea, and then they start like playing around on a guitar or a piano, and then I'm singing melodies on top of it. And then lyrics usually come after that. But lately I've been doing a lot of it on my own. Like I said, I've been trying to challenge myself and do the production part of it, the track side and all the music as well. So a lot of time I have like a list of titles in my phone. And so kind of like reference back to my titles and see how I'm feeling that day. Usually I wake up in the morning and I know if it's going to be like a great creative day or if it's going to be like a wall. So I try to lean into those moments where I'm really, at my highest creative sense,
Yeah.
and a lot of times I'll come in my studio and just start vibing out with different tracks and sounds, and melodies come from that. Something always comes.
Yeah, nice, nice. And people will want to see you doing some shows. What's your plan?
Well, right now, like I said, I'm mainly in the studio working on the next album. And so we will see after that if a tour opportunity comes from that. Sometimes it's like always last minute. I'm right now I'm touring the US with like radio stuff. But hopefully I'll make it over to the UK. I was just there not too long ago and I love it. I want to come back. So, definitely follow me, like I said, on socials, and I'll keep everybody updated.
Is there anywhere that you've not been to yet that you want to get to?
Um, let's see. I'd love to go more overseas. Like I've traveled pretty much everywhere in the US, but I'd love to explore more of the UK. I also would love to go to Australia. I've never been there before. So we'll see. I don't know. I would love to go everywhere. We'll see where life takes me.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Sarah Reeves. And this is the part of the show where we like to throw back in time to one of our early interviews. And we're going back to Slam Dunk Festival 2016, where we chatted to a whole bunch of artists, including New Found Glory, who we are going to throw back in time to interview. So, New Found Glory from Slam Dunk 2016. How are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, what's been going on with you guys since I last met you on the Kerrang tour?
Well, I mean, we're always on tour, and probably since the Kerrang tour, we put out. Let's see, I'm trying to think how long ago the Kerrang tour was, because we put out a new record about a year ago.
Okay.
And we've been touring off that. Resurrection. We also did like a deluxe version called Resurrection Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Just touring, just the same old shit.
The normal that everybody does.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you're here Slam Dunk today.
Yeah.
How was yesterday?
Yesterday was awesome.
Yeah.
It was. I was a little bit nervous for my sake, just because I haven't sang a lick in like 6 months. But it was good.
Yeah.
It was really good. Huge crowd.
Yep.
I love that. You get like UK does festivals the right, like you're the kings of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you looking forward to today and tomorrow?
Yeah, I am. I like that today's indoors. Yesterday was outside.
Okay.
Today's indoors, which is nice. Get a nice, good sound and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And then I do believe you're off on Warped Tour.
Yeah, that starts June 24th, I believe.
Okay.
In Texas.
Woohoo! Excellent.
Yeah, good old Texas.
Doing the whole dates?
Yeah, we're doing the whole thing, and the last time was probably 4 years ago.
Okay.
So
looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that. It's a little bit shorter. There's less stages. It's a little more focused as far as like what bands are on what stage and that kind of thing. Last few years, I don't know if you've ever been to Warped Tour.
No,
but it's
only the UK.
Oh, okay.
Tour, so.
The US is like insane, a lot of stages,
Yes.
know. But now it's kind of like.
I was looking at the lineup and all the stage splits, and I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's less stages this time around, which is cool. It allows kids to like actually, see more bands.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. So you released your record last year. Are you writing at the moment, or you've just put that to one side?
Not really. We're kind of like figuring out what to do next, because we're gonna do a new record pretty soon. But we're kind of in the early stages of writing.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something to look forward to for the fans.
Yeah, for sure.
And after Warped Tour, you heading back this way, or what's the plan?
Well, we come to UK like two times a year, like 3 times every record cycle. So I have a feeling we'll probably be back.
Yeah.
So we're always coming. It's like we've been coming to UK since 2001. So.
Yeah. So as you said, you've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Especially in the music industry, it's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's it now? 16 years?
Started in 97, so almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
It's so weird.
So how has your music progressed since then?
I think it's just progressed because as far as like we always try to not put out the same record twice, and also that we've gone through more we grew up on the road, I started the band when I was 17 years old, so we've been a band for almost 20 years, but I'm still like young, and I'm still like, even to this day, I'm still like figuring out life, you know what I mean? but at the same time, it's like we've also been through a lot. So every record, I feel like that kind of shows. Every record shows like what we're kind of going through in our lives, and also, you know, musically, like we kind of know like what to do now, like we're like how to write songs and stuff now. So
you know how this thing works. You know the music industry.
Yeah. I don't know. We've just always been a band that just do our own thing and not worry about anything else. But we're also not really jaded or like, you know, we have our ear to the ground. Like we're music fans, so like we're always trying to like keep, you know, that's why I think we're still relevant. You know what I mean?
So if people wanted to find out more about you or get hold of your music, where can they go?
When they what?
When they want to find out more about you, where can they go?
The wonderful, wild world of the interweb.
Yep.
Yep.
And all over social media.
All over, yeah, social media. I mean, we have Newfound Glory social media, but we also have personal ones too and stuff. So yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed the interview there with Newfound Glory from Slam Dunk Festival 2016. And that's the end of the show for another week, I am afraid. But don't you worry, we will be back next week with a new episode of Interviews Unedited. But if you can't wait until then, check us out on social media at The Soundalab Yes on all the socials. And you can also check out the website, thesoundalabuk.co.uk. And we will see you next week for another episode of Interviews Unedited. Goodbye.